let's go into some spoilers, and we have to talk about the ending of this movie because it's going to be one of the most controversial endings that we have in 2025. So, spoilers, you guys can skip ahead to our conversation on the best director slash actor dual threats. Spoilers start now. So, I knew the ending to this movie. I called this when the trailer came out. She's an alien, and the whole thing, and I said it, but now I'm going to say it with the spoiler section. I needed them to show me and sell me that she's not an alien. And there was only a couple times where they kind of had me like a tether ball going back and forth. It had me like wrong footed. Like I was sure that she was an alien. The one time that I kind of wavered in my confidence was when Clemens goes to his mother's facility and he puts the coolant in her IV. So messed up, so dumb, so incredibly dumb. That's also part of the plot holes I have will kind of come up here. The fact that no one tracked him down back to his house after he put coolant in his mom's IV where they can easily find, they know where he lives. That's a huge plot hole for me. But to have him gone and Emma Stone in the basement sees that mattress that leads to these cut off hands, these decapitated bodies, these heads, all these like people that Clemens' character has collected and basically tested if they're aliens or not. And at that moment, I'm like, oh, he's a serial killer. And then she's really a human, and now she has to escape a potential serial killer who is mentally ill like she claims. That's the part where I was like, oh, maybe I'm hesitant. But when he came down the stairs back from his mom's her facility, and she was standing there and did not try and leave. And she was standing there confidently. I'm like, alien. Like, no matter what happened for the rest of the movie, I was like, she is an alien. Any sensible person would have left in that situation, crawled out of there, whatever. And then it leads to the speech afterwards, and they still go flip flop all the way until the very end when she hops into the wardrobe and she gets sent off right to the Andromeda spaceship. That was the only moment I wavered, Ricky Flex, and I don't think they sold me well with everything else.
That was a problem with the movie because like the entire time you kind of knew for this to work, she kind of would have to be an alien. It really would.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beginning actually was the part when I thought maybe you know what, maybe they could like Yorgos could do like some sort of spin here at the end where even though she's not an alien, he can make it interesting and kind of put it on its head where maybe Don's an alien or something. I don't know, like something crazy, right? But the only time I thought maybe not was when she was initially taken in as a hostage, and the acting was incredible, saying I'm not an alien. Like this is ridiculous. I was like, that's like too good. That's like way too good to be like, oh, she actually is an alien and she's lying. Like you can't lie like that. But obviously that was the only time I faltered because if you unbuckle yourself from the handcuff to the bed or whatever in the basement like that, any human is getting out of there right away. No, she needs to figure out where, like, how far along is he? Like she needs to find out what he knows and like other repercussions that it might have, especially because she's the emperor.
Well, is she the emperor or just a high-ranking official?
I think she's. Oh, I thought she
She
was the
makes a
emperor.
huge. I think she refers to someone else as the emperor, and she's talking to like the rest of like a council type of thing. But she makes the ultimate decision to basically end humanity.
Right. That's why I think she's the current emperor. I should say.
That ending does not shock me. It's incredibly bleak. Like that just lines up so well with what we talked about. What your expectations are for a Yorgos movie. But when she pops the bubble, it's like also it's dark because you're ending humanity. But to do it and to have the sound effect of the I was just like, and everyone's dead. And then they have like this montage of all dead bodies throughout the world. I'm like, this is so Yorgos Lanthimos, that type of moment. And I'll also say a little bit disappointed by the set design of the aliens. A little lazy. A little freaking lazy, dude. You just had what are those things called? Those was it guillotine suits? Ghillie suits. Those ghillie suits that you wear when you play airsoft, you just had like 10 people put them on, and you just said, get out there. It was supposed to kind of look like I guess a 1960s like sci-fi like Star Trek episode. But I was
Right.
like, this looks so cheap. This looks like whatever. You didn't go all in on this, but it was hilarious when she went into that closet and she got shot up. And then you saw the spaceship that is perfectly crafted to what the images Teddy designed that were hanging up. I'm like, he knew all along. But I was disappointed that, not shocked by the ending, not shocked that she was an alien, not shocked that she ended humanity. I was disappointed by the look of the spaceship and all that shit.
It's crazy because, like, again, the premise of is kind of saying, oh, like she might be an alien. That should be the most interesting part about this movie. But when you're at that part and that the ending, you kind of felt like a post credit scene. For me, at least, I felt like the movie ended when Jesse Plemons' character died.
Dude, that last like set of shots are pretty unforgettable though.
Right? No, but like, I guess like what I mean is my favorite part of the film and the core of the film ended when Jesse Plemons died, and then we have an end to the actual hostage situation.
Interesting. I knew
Not the actual like, oh, is she an alien or not? I couldn't care less as we went through because I think it was a problem with the structure of the film.
I do say like, and I didn't waver even when he blew up in the thing. I'm like, that's like literally he's an idiot. Like he's an idiot when he's not in his dojo, when he's not in his setting, and he's like well comfortable talking about the Andromeda and all this stuff. I knew she was gonna. I literally knew she's gonna go back in that thing, 100%. It did kind of, yeah, because you kind of missed that dynamic between the two. Now that he was gone, my favorite scene of the movie is when after Teddy comes back from seeing his mom dies, he goes down the stairs, and you have that monologue from Emma Stone. And she talks about her being a part of the Andromeda. She basically asks how many of them were aliens. And he says 2. I'm like, holy shit. Like with that moment, then she goes off. I was jaw on the floor. I'm like, that is like Oscar stuff right there. That is the best line reading I've ever heard, I've ever seen. And I was like, if obviously you think about her manipulating, people that she think are less than her. Is she making all this up as she's going to try and get herself out of the situation? But she stood there waiting for him. I'm like, she's a fucking alien, dude. Like you knew from that point on, and to have her literally not stutter straight through, and then to see the terror on Plemons' face when he is sitting on the couch with a gun, knowing well that he is not going to be pulling that trigger. I thought that was the best scene of the movie. Absolutely unreal.
That was an unbelievable scene. Unbelievable scene. And that's where, like, for Emma Stone, like, perfectly cast here, but also just best actor on the planet, you could argue. Currently actively working, where she can go from Poor Things, where she's a Frankenstein equivalent child, adult brain prostitute, to CEO of a big pharma company, passive aggressive chemist. Like, talk about range. Talk about
Yeah.
freaking range, And that's what she showed here in her back-to-back features with Yorgos.
And some people will say, like, there was no point where I was rooting for Emma Stone. I was never rooting for Jesse Plemons. The only thing I was rooting for him is that aliens existed. But he's doing such terrible things. You can't root for him. But all I know is I'm not rooting for Emma Stone because she's such a smug a-hole in this movie. Like I can't root for her. And then as you find out like what she is responsible for Big Pharma, the mother of Teddy, her health status, and then all that jazz. And to have her come off saying like, you're a loser, I'm the winner. I'm like, I can't root for you. I'm not gonna root for Plemons. I'm only gonna root that aliens exist, but I cannot root for. I almost had to root for Plemons by default because of Emma Stone's performance.
Yeah, at no point was I rooting for Emma Stone. I was rooting for Jesse Plemons until the serial killer scene or a reveal. And I
Yeah,
was like, whoa. And
the
also,
research.
I know another plot hole right when I saw that, where he's actually, dissecting humans and whatnot, giving what's it called? When you have a dead body and you cut them open to see like
Autopsy.
autopsies. He's performing autopsies on these people. right? And he says two aliens. He finds two aliens, right? And I'm just curious how the hell he did that. Number one, two. In the beginning of the film, when Don is like, this is exposition through dialogue here, saying, "How do you know she's an alien?" And he said the most generic, "Oh, her toes are narrow. The facial structure."
You just know.
It's just like you've done autopsy, so I guess that works. But also, like, I would like to hear a little bit more specifics or something because you've done autopsies on them.
But what he was talking to his cousin in that situation, wasn't he? Like when they're
Yes.
walking at the beginning before the kidnapping, it's like it's just it's all feel. I think it's just all feel. And when she said how many of them were aliens, I didn't know if she was saying like, I can't believe, have you reflected on what you've done? That you are a serial killer and that you have taken these people and cut up their limbs and you have them in the back of your basement. But the fact that she was still there, I'm like, alien, alien. Also, another spoiler detail I have to bring up. What comes with the Yorgos Lanthimos film? Usually like a classical music score, you know? I do have to shout out during this is also why you couldn't root for Plemons because he was going off the deep end as this movie kept progressing. The basic torture scene that you get with the Emma Stone character, where you have like the shock, going to the temples. He plays Green Day. He plays Dookie. He does Basket Case. Amazing needle drop, like amazing needle drop, and it, for some reason, fit the look of Jesse Plemons in this movie. Like for some reason, and to also have it like a newer age rock song, I thought it was a really fun choice, And I thought like this was a fun, thrilling movie at points, especially as you get towards the end. It has like a bleak, but like kind of a you laugh a little bit type of ending. To have Green Day thrown in there and that be like the only music used to me is kind of hilarious. And they have it on like I think also I'm thinking 90s because it's like these guys. He's an incel, but like everything else feels like that house is like in 1990 for some reason. Like him bringing out that boom box and hitting play. I'm like, of course that song was on it. I just love that choice.
Yeah, a little on the nose with Basket Case and Jesse Plemons literally in that unwrapping,
Yeah,
starting with that scene, realizing, oh my God, Emma Stone is
such a good
actually the
song.
Emperor or whatever, or has Emperor blood or whatever lineage, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that reminds me, another thing I loved about this movie was the score, and particularly the score with the basement. Amazing dynamic there with the lighting in the basement, Teddy's basement, mixed with the score. I thought worked really well. So the composer here is Jerkskin Fendrix. He's only really worked with Yorgos, and Poor Things was his first feature film, and he got nominated for Poor Things. So someone to keep an eye on composer wise going forward for scores for Yorgos movies, but also potentially more because Yorgos famously this week said he's taking a break from directing. So just look out for Jerks and Fendrix for the composer aspects of the movies going forward.
And then like they had like those haunting drops, and it was almost like you see in a Hitchcock movie or hear in a Hitchcock movie, that type of thing present here. My last thing about spoilers before we go into scores, more into like the plot holes of it all. Having her show up with Teddy at the office after she's been missing for a week, and her pulling up with basically new hair. It was hilarious when it was 5:35 and she was walking by and says, "Oh, it's 5:35. You guys can go home now." Like trying to get people out of the office after she was basically saying, "Yeah, you can leave at 5:30, but not if you have work to do and you have to get it done." Like a new initiative or whatever she was trying to pull off at the beginning of the movie before the kidnapping. But to have her just strolling through with like a broken leg and like no one calls the cops. No one finds a way to bust through. And she's walking in with someone as sketchy looking as Teddy. I'm like, no one does anything here. I just thought like, okay, it's a hyper realized world, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Scores. What do you give Bugonia?
89. 89 from Ricky Flicks.
79 from Dr. O. That does it for our review of Bugonia.